Well, our moms think we're funny.
Hey everybody, this is Turk182.
And I'm Acomi.
What's going on, Acomi?
Oh, not much. It seems like 2021 is really, really determined to outdo 2020 so far.
2021 I think it's kind of an interesting year. It's like, in some ways, it's like, I want to be better than 2020, and it's like, well, yeah, please don't set the bar too high now. Yeah. But same day, it's just like, but I want to switch it up on you, like I was like, oh, okay, 2021's doing pretty good. It's like, whoa, what are you doing? What are you doing? It's like, oh, I'm just messing with you. It's cool. It's cool. Or is it?
Yeah, it seems like it's trying really hard to be better, but it doesn't quite know what better is. It's like, no, stop trying to help. Oh my God, stop trying to help.
Well, it didn't have a good role model.
Right.
Yeah. Where'd you learn how to be a year? From you, all right? I learned about watching you.
I know that we briefly talked about it over text, and you said that you'd only looked at the headlines, but you hadn't really read up on the story much. But apparently,
yes, I don't know anything about this.
Apparently, the fucking stock market is crashing because a bunch of memers on Reddit decided to make a meme out of buying GameStop stock.
So I saw GameStop stock and something like going up or whatever, and I'm like, and to me, I'm like, well, no, that because nobody shops at GameStop,
Yeah, that's the point.
I mean, GameStop is like RST Video from Clerks.
Right.
It's like, but you work at a video store. I work at a shitty video store. People that work at GameStop, they go and they buy shit from Best Buy. I mean,
that's the thing. GameStop is totally 100% a dying business because people don't do brick and mortar game stores anymore. They don't have a need to. You can buy your shit digitally.
Plus, GameStop has always been kind of like a fucking rip-off place, man.
Oh yeah, like it doesn't have a good reputation, and so that's the thing is that like.
I'm sorry, did I tell you like the first time I ever bought anything from GameStop, and I went in and I bought a brand new game, and I bought the game and they're giving it to me, and they unwrap it there in front of me, and I'm like, what? And they unwrap it. At the time, and this was several years back, and it was like really. Like, it took years before I bought anything else. They basically unwrapped the game there before giving it to you so that you couldn't bring it back.
Wow.
That's
shitty.
That's some fucking shit for you right there.
That's really shitty. So, but yeah, like, that's the thing. Like, GameStop is a failing business. It's got a bad reputation. So, what stock investors have been doing has, for a while, from what I understand, and I don't totally understand the stock market, so maybe I'm about to, like, feed out some bad information here.
So I can tell you the stock market, because I don't believe in the stock market at all.
Yeah.
To me, the stock market is bullshit, because the stock market is a thing where you buy stock that has value until you try to sell it.
Right.
And of course you can sell like little pieces of shit here and there, but nobody buys stock and like, I'm going to buy 5 shares of this and 5 shares of that. No, you buy big shares of things. But then when you try to unload those big shares and people are like, well, wait, someone's selling big shares of this. There must be a problem here. And then all of a sudden those big shares drop down in value.
Yeah.
So it's like, so it only has value as long as you don't try to sell it. What the fuck? I don't need that.
And apparently you can only play it if you're, like, actually a millionaire, because otherwise people get mad. That's what I've learned from the GameStop thing.
Yeah, I mean, like having stock is like being the manager of Jack Foxworthy, right? It's like he only has value as long as he doesn't perform. Because then when people are like, oh, this is what you call jokes? Oh, fuck that.
God, that would be a hard job. Wow, I never thought about that. But yeah, so basically what stock investors have been doing for a while with GameStop stock has been shorting, which I'm not 100% clear. I've only learned about it as a result of all this.
Because you're not a strong investor.
Yeah, well, I'm a millennial. Like, I'm... Yes, I know.
I'm sorry, I just didn't put that in there.
I could use the practice. But yeah, I mean, like, I'm a millennial. I'm never gonna own, like, real estate or be able to invest in the stock market or any of that shit, so I learned about it before now, and only now because it's funny. But yeah, so, like, they're shorting, which basically, the really, really, really dumbed down version of shorting is that you're taking a gamble on a business failing, because if a business zeroes out, then you don't have to, like, pay back on that. So Let me get this thing pulled up here because I had a little explanation screenshotted on my phone just to make sure. So basically, with shorting, you're borrowing shares of a company, and so you sell them immediately, and then you are legally required to buy them back when the price is lower for a profit. So basically, investors have seen for years that GameStop is failing, so they've just been shorting it to a huge extent, which of course is driving the prices down because if the price hits zero, then hey, you're no longer required to do that, and then it's just all profit from there.
Right.
So, jokes on them. A bunch of neckbeards on Reddit, on a stock subreddit, saw that GameStop stock was at an all-time low, and they were like, "Hey guys, it'd be really funny if we invested in GameStop stock."
Well, hold on. I'm sorry. GameStop stock was at an all-time low. Couldn't it have gotten any lower?
It can always get lower, apparently. But yeah, so they bought shit ton of GameStop stock because, hey, it's funny. It's a failing business. Let's just buy this shit just to be funny. Come to find out, now all of these hedge fund investors who have been shorting it for years and years and years can't buy the stock back, which they're legally required to do because these people have the stock.
Right.
And so they're trying to buy it back, but these guys are refusing to sell. And the fact that they're refusing to sell has now made the stock skyrocket. So,
and the whole thing is they're supposed to be buying it back at a lower price.
So, like, their options are they're either going to lose all their money or they're basically just going to get bankrupted. So yeah, so that's what's been going on with that, and that's what all those headlines that you've seen have been about. Has been that what was supposed to just be a dumb joke amongst Redditors is actually single-handedly destroying the stock market, and I don't think I could be much happier about that myself.
I gotta say, I think it's kind of funny. I mean,
yeah, it's hilarious.
People that, I've got some people from friends that are serious investors and things like that, and obviously if they're serious investors, they wouldn't have invested in GameStop.
Yeah,
but. So I do feel, as the market's crashing, I do feel for them. But yeah, that's kind of funny. I mean,
yeah.
Did I ever tell you about the NPR story about during the housing crash and all this shit that happened with that?
That sounds vaguely familiar.
It's I would recommend anybody listening. It was a couple years ago, so I couldn't tell you what it like. But if you go to NPR and be like, look up this story about the whole when the housing crisis, with the mortgage crash and all that kind of stuff. But
right.
You you had all these houses that people couldn't pay and they were all being foreclosed on and stuff. And I forget the guy because he was he was a piece of shit guy that his father was a big deal. And he, it's like one of those things where
dad owns a dealership,
right? Like his dad was like a big deal, and I forget what that one investment company was, but like J.P. Morgan, something like that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So his dad was a big deal in that, and so of course he went to school, and he graduated, in the same way that Tommy graduated, So John Hancock, it's Herbie Hancock. So, and then he gets a job at JP Morgan doing nothing. So he ends up finding out about all this stuff. But basically what it all boiled down to was, because of the whole, the government backing the loans,
mm-hmm.
that when all these people, these houses started being foreclosed on because of the bank and stuff, well, they were all insured by the government, by the feds, and they were like, well, we don't want to have to pay on all these things. It's way too much. So this guy found out about it all, and he was like, well, basically they gave him for free. I mean, he didn't pay shit for it. They gave him this thing. This is kind of an abridged version because it's been 2 years since I heard this story.
Right.
But they gave it to him. And then it was like, so then he would basically be responsible, and he was going to be selling the houses. But then he contacted another guy. This is all downtown, Dun and Broad Street. Yes, I know it's Brad Street, but Dun and Broad Street. He contacts somebody else in another investment firm and tells them, the houses, he's like, I will sell you these houses,
Right.
right, that you can then foreclose on. And of course, he got them all for free.
Uh-huh.
So he's going to sell them to this guy. And then the guy's going to basically, they're foreclosing on these houses. He sends a bunch of people out there that had these like mobile desks that they would just set up. And people are trying to save their houses. They're trying to get them from the bank. But these people are like, yeah, fuck you. And you're saving your house and everything. It's like, we're going to buy it back. So they were buying these houses. And then they're like, well, we don't want to kick you out of your home. You can stay in your home. You just have to abide by our, by our guidelines or whatever. And they would have the mortgage would be like more than what it was before, something like that. So people then couldn't afford to live in the homes.
Right, right.
So they were buying these homes, telling these people that they were going to stay in them because they didn't want to foreclose on them. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of this whole agreement thing. But then they made it so that people couldn't afford to stay in them. The people then foreclosed on them because they couldn't afford, but they're like, well, we were trying to work with them and everything. We didn't want to kick them out. Yeah. So then they foreclosed on them. So then when they foreclosed on them, they're like, well, they foreclosed on these houses. Hey, federal government, I got all these houses, man, these people foreclosed on. You insured them all. Basically, in the end, the federal government still had to pay on all these things that they gave to this guy for free that he then sold to somebody else to sell to make money. So everybody made money except for the government, and then they still foreclosed on the houses, and the government still had to pay on the shit that they gave away for free.
God, that's shitty.
And I was like, what the fuck? And they's like, man, this does not make sense. Like, how did you guys do this? And they gave them to him for free.
Right, yeah.
And I'm like,
that's insane.
Right. And the whole thing was, the whole point of it all was for them to foreclose on it all and get the government money. That was like the whole thing. It was this whole twisted back and forth thing around to do that just so you could end up getting that and foreclosing on it. I was like,
both that and this situation with the stock market proves that the system is broken, but it was designed broken. Like, it's not like, oh, they were trying to make a workable system for people and it just failed. It's like, no, you purposefully made it fucked up and people have found out ways of exploiting it.
Yeah, it's weird because like it's almost the opposite of when you're building something where you're like, okay, I built something and I need you guys to see if you can break it, right? Because then I know where the vulnerabilities are.
Yeah, like bringing in a white hat hacker or something,
right?
To find like breaches in your security.
It's almost like building a pyramid, to where. When they, when the pharaohs were having their slaves and everything build these pyramids, knowing that in the end it's like, okay, well, yeah, we're going to like Rama Kama. Let me use my favorite one. Ra Amin Ka, right? Mm-hmm. He's going to die. Pharaoh Ra Amin Ka is going to die. He's going to be buried in this tomb. Oh, and by the way, all of his favorite servants are going to be buried too. You guys will still be alive. He'll be dead. So when they were building the pyramids, they built in escape routes for themselves. And it's kind of like that. It's like, we're building this system, but while we're building it, I'm going to build in these back doors here so that I can exploit it or so I can get out of shit real quick. and it's like you guys you're building it all the wrong way. I'm surprised this thing even stands.
Right. You got to wonder how many servants got buried with the pharaoh without building a back door before they realized, like, guys, we should maybe make escape routes for this kind of shit.
Right.
It's like they're reading off the Pharaoh's will, and it's like, and I want Phil and Jesse buried with me. It's like, do I now? Excuse me.
That's when you accidentally slip up when you're doing the engraving, and it's like he said Phil and Jesse. No, see, that's there's no space. That's one word. Phil and Jesse. Yeah, Phil and Jesse. You around here somewhere?
There's Phil and Jesse in the room. But yeah. I thought that it was pretty interesting. One of the people on my team is like really big into following the stock market, so he was talking about it, and I was like, well, I've seen the headlines. Like you, I'd seen the headlines, hadn't really looked into it. So when I started actually reading about everything that went down, it was like, that is some of the funniest shit I've ever seen.
I think it's funny, and it really shouldn't be funny. But I do think it's funny how people on Reddit will get together and they'll be like, and someone just be like, hey, you know what? We should do this. just for fun. And it was like, all right, let's do that. And they do it, and like shit just starts crashing around. It's like, there's no real malice. It's just like, let's just have fun. It's kind of like Cards Against Humanity.
Yeah,
when they were digging the hole. Do you know about that?
That sounds vaguely familiar. What happened with that?
So normally around Christmas of every year, Cards Against Humanity will be like, hey, we're gonna have this Christmas thing, right? One year, like they sent you it was like a gift a week or a day or whatever, and the one thing that they sent was like, oh, here's like this paper, and like here are all the like congressmen or whatever, and like where all their money like gone to. It is so great. And then they'll send you them. So one year though, they're like, hey, this year though, we're not sending anything out. We're going to dig a hole. So they got a bulldozer, and they're like, we're going to dig a hole, and the more money you guys donate to us, the longer we can dig this hole.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to do with the hole? Nothing. What are we going? It's like, what are we digging a hole for? Nothing. Is the money that we're donating going to go to something? No, it's going to dig a hole. So the money that people were donating were basically going to pay for the rental of the bulldozer to dig a hole, and that's all it did was just dig a hole. And people pay. This thing dug a hole for like several days to a week, and you could actually I think they had a live feed where you just watch this thing just digging a hole, and they're like so, and people they had like whole FAQ was like and what is this thing? No, we're digging a hole. That's all it was digging a hole, and then eventually people stopped, it's like after a while, it's like, okay, well, this is fun. Now it's done.
Right. Yeah.
And it's kind of like that. It's like, hey, we're going to dig a hole, and the more you pay us, the longer we can dig this hole. And they're like, okay. And it's so funny to see like Reddit stuff like that where someone just like, like you see people like, hey, everybody like, upvote this, so this will be like the top search thing when you like Google this or whatever,
right?
And people just like think, all right, it's.
I think the issue of what happened here with the stock market is that all the hedge fund investors kind of pulled a Chris Chan, and instead of just ignoring the trolls and like, oh, they're going to get tired of having GameStop stock eventually. No, instead they were all going, no, stop. We got to buy this. You got to let us buy it back. And of course, when you're doing that, it's Reddit. So of course they're going to be like, yeah, no, I think I'm going to keep this. I really like this stock. I think I'm going to keep it for the rest of my life. And
you don't understand. It's GameStop, man.
It's
GameStop.
dude.
I mean, it's GameStop. Oh,
whoa. So I mean, they did exactly what Chris Chan would do. Like, no, I want all this stuff about my house off the internet. It's like, well, now it's going to be on there forever. Way to go, dude. Good job, idiot.
Oh man, that is hilarious to me.
It gets better and better the more I read about it.
I mean, early when we were kind of like just flipping through channels before we started recording, Wolf of Wall Street was on, and it's like, it's like those same practices, are still alive. Did I think I told you this, and I'm gonna have to like, the names of the guilty, have been as discreetly covered up as much as I can, but a place that I don't know of, that I never worked at, that sold future protections. Mm-hmm. Okay. A guy that wasn't my friend that I don't know of was talking to someone that had a future protection plan, let's say, that they had bought, and they no longer wanted this future protection plan at this particular company, and they wanted to move it to another one. But they had borrowed money from it that had to be paid back.
Right.
And the only way to pay the money back, and it was like maybe it was several thousand, maybe. Could have been like it wasn't 100,000, it wasn't that, but I know it was maybe 40 to 60,000. As the story was not told to me to somebody else that just happened over here.
Right.
But they wanted to do it. Their whole thing was like, I want to get this done this week. So, and we're like, well, you'd have to write a check and well, it's like, well, I want to get something. Can I wire it to you? And like, well, we don't have wire thing. And so the place made an exception to accept a wire to pay this whole thing off so that the person could then take their future protection from this company and move it to another company.
Mm-hmm.
So not a big deal. It's just like, okay, you make an exception. And because it was a wire transfer and it was a big one, it took a lot of like higher up signatures and stuff to get all that done. So that's not the big deal. The big deal was the person that was doing all that may or may not have been someone that was part of the whole 1980s Wall Street thing with like Mike Milken and all of them.
Yeah.
This particular person may or may not have been the one that ratted all them out for a lesser sentence and used the money that they kept from that to purchase this future protection.
Holy shit.
That they then brought money off of and then, of course, still had a shit ton of money left over because that's how all that worked.
Right.
Because all those guys back then, they had all this money. It's like, well, you're going to have to pay these people back. And it's like, okay, sure. But, I stole like hundreds of millions and you're making me pay back like 30.
Right, yeah.
It's like, after I do time in Club Fed.
Right, yeah.
And I know Club Fed, they were always talking about them having tennis courts and stuff like that and everything. But the thing is, though, like, I don't have to worry about Mike Milken trying to, rape me in the ass,
right.
in the shower,
Real rape you in the ass, prison.
Right. The worst he'll do is like glue $100 bill to the ground, and then they'll all make fun of me, while I'm trying to pick it up. It's like I can't get it up. I'm like, look at him. He's spending so much time for 100. So it's like, yeah, okay, they're not. That's the thing is like it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to have like swimming pools and tennis courts and, caviar every day. The fact that I'm in prison and I get TV and I don't have to worry about somebody raping me in the ass,
right.
That's not prison. That's not prison. That's like one step up from home because home I'm not even guaranteed 3 meals a day, right. No matter how small they are.
Yeah, but the problem is I don't want to be here. That's the problem.
Yeah, I don't mind going to one of those prisons for 5 or 10 years when I know I've got several hundred million waiting on me.
Right.
And again, the other big part of that is I don't have to worry about somebody trying to rape me in the ass.
Yeah.
Or I keep saying rape me in the ass or rape me in the mouth. I mean,
yeah.
Not one of those are
keep
fan
your
of
options
mine.
open,
Yeah. So yeah, they may not have been like a day spa, but still, it had disadvantages that most places don't.
Yeah.
While you still get to keep all your hundreds of millions of dollars, which, by the way, while you've been sitting there, for 10 years, has been untouched and just accruing and accruing and accruing. Mm-hmm. So when you get out, it's like you pay off your debt with the interest that your money earned. So,
I mean, from what I hear, if you have $3 million in the bank, then you can just live off of that interest. So if he's got that many millions, then it's he'll never have another problem again.
Yeah.
So fuck that guy, right?
Right. So, but I mean, it's pretty smart though, man. You see the axis coming down. You're like, hey, I'm going to get ahead of this thing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make a deal. I'm going to rattle them out. And because people say this, I can't believe you ran me. But when the axe is falling,
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter if you're, it's falling. It's not like a guillotine where it's all coming down at one time. It's slowly falling. So it doesn't matter if you're on the first cut, if you're on the end cut,
Right.
What you want to do is you want to get ahead and you want to be just under the handle. Be like, yeah. I'm still feeling the impact, but at least I don't get sliced.
See, that kind of reminds me, I don't remember what the story was, but it was some guy who ran a business, and as he was getting arrested, he hired himself on as an outside consultant so that he'd stay on the payroll for his own business. So he just kept on getting an annual salary every year while he was in jail.
Wow.
Does that ring a bell? Because
No, but that's pretty ingenious.
yeah, like I mean, he basically created the position for himself and was like, no, I'm a consultant, and I mean, yeah, this shit. I wish I could remember who that was.
Damn, that's pretty. It's pretty smart. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he came out of it like well ahead of the game by the end of everything. So it's a bit of a jump of subject, but we were also going to talk about Resident Evil, right?
Yeah. So you're talking about the Resident Evil memes, which unfortunately I know nothing about.
So you're completely in the dark about this.
Yeah, I've been in my Hobbit cave. You know? I have no idea what's going on in the world right now.
The internet has fallen madly in love. So they've started showing some demos and some footage of Resident Evil 8, which looks incredible, I will say. And, I was very fond of Resident Evil 7. I thought it was a phenomenal horror game. Back when we were still doing gameplay, we had it on the docket to do that, which we'll get to it someday. Yeah. We will. But,
so is this going to end up turning out to be like Resident Evil 2077?
Probably. So, well, I'm just gonna say this. I'll show you a picture here.
Okay, good.
All these memes are stemming from the villain of this story, or at least the villain as we're seeing in the demo. And this villain is, I think her name is Lady Dimitrescu or something like that. It's some kind of fancy ass name, but basically, this villain is an extremely busty, tall, Victorian-looking vampire chick. She's like 8 foot tall, gigantic gazungas, and the internet has just fallen madly in love with this character. And that's the point here. Is like, this is literally like 90% of my sexual fantasy here. How am I supposed to experience fear in a horror game when I desperately want this woman to come crush my windpipe? It's like, this totally redefines the whole fear boner thing. So
I'm going to spend most of my time in Resident Evil around trying to find a stepladder so I can climb that mountain.
But yeah, this is like the most popular screenshot that's been going around. But like, she has to stoop to go through doorways as she's chasing after you. And yeah, like, I have seen so much fan art and cosplay, and like, I mean, I get it. I get why people are into it, right. But it's like, it's just downright hilarious. But like, just the first time, before I ever even saw the screenshot, just hearing people talk about it and like, oh yeah, it's like this 8 foot tall vampire chick with giant knockers. It's like, yeah, that's not scary. That's like really hot.
Yeah, I will have to say that I think I would have to draw the line at 8 feet. Because that's a little too tall for me. Because everything I want is out of reach. So think about different like positions. Okay, with them being 8 feet tall, they're no longer in alignment with you.
Mm-hmm.
So think about like a cowgirl, right? They're too far away.
That's true.
Doggy, they're too far away. I mean, just, missionary, it's too far away. Like you think it'd be great, but then your head's in her navel, and it's like,
yeah. We need to get like a life-sized cardboard cutout here for research purposes.
Yeah,
to actually see how it all lines up.
For research.
Yeah.
See, I'm thinking I got to draw the line at 6'10".
Maybe. Yeah, that seems reasonable.
So
I don't know. Tall is definitely good.
Yeah.
But yeah, at like 8 feet, she can just pretty much have her way with you and put you in whatever position needs to be for everything in reach there.
Yeah, shit, you had me at 8 feet. You know what I'm going to do to you? I sure do.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. But yeah, like, nobody's treating it like a horror game now. Like, it's been nothing but like thirst posting and horny comments, and it's kind of hilarious.
What? Horny comments?
Imagine on the internet.
Those people need to grow up, I swear.
I just can't stand immaturity.
I know, right? Jeez. They give the rest of us a bad name. Kind of the way that Bon Jovi gives Love a bad name.
Yeah. Good old John Bovey.
Man, I didn't know that. You're always like really good about bringing me like new internet shit that I don't know anything about.
That's me.
Oh, that is quite wonderful, I have to say.
Oh, it's good stuff. It's been worth it just for the cosplay, which normally I don't get all horny over cosplay, but there's been some good cosplay.
Yeah, see, that's where trouble comes in paradise. It's because if you're talking about 8 feet and you're talking about cosplay, which is all cool in the gang, right? Is that probably the majority of your cosplay is probably going to be guys, tall guys, cosplaying. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, though. That's when you accidentally fall into the Admiral Akbar.
Right.
And,
it's a trap.
So, but hey, my dreams are my dreams. I'm just saying. These are my dreams, and you can't have them.
Come on, internet, just let me have this. just let me have my sexual fantasy.
Why can't you take care of me? I took care of you.
Also, but speaking of me foisting internet shit upon you, apparently things have been busy with Chris Chan, and I'd fallen out of the loop for a couple of years.
That's surprising.
Right? Yeah, like, apparently there's been a dimensional merge between our world and Quickville.
Quickville?
Quickville, yeah. Chris's imaginary world, Quickville, Virginia, just north of Charlottesville.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. So apparently that dimension where all the Sonichus live, there's been a dimensional merge, which he talked about for years. Like there's been talk for years of this happening, and according to Chris, it has happened, and now
there's officially been a dimensional merge.
Yep, and Chris Chan and Sonichu have swapped bodies. Sonichu is currently living in Chris's body, and Chris is over in the Quickville dimension living in Sonichu's body.
Huh.
So, yeah, Sonichu's been talking on Twitter about praying to Chris, the goddess of the Quickville dimension. And it's some trippy shit, man.
I'm sorry, I don't know why this came as a shock to me. It did, and I have no idea why it came as a shock to me. I was like, wait, Chris Chan's on Twitter? But I mean, of course he would be. I don't know why. I don't know why I was thinking like what? Why? Like Chris Chan, like, no, of course he would be. Like, I'm like, God, jeez, you're so damn stupid,
Yeah, Chris is more active on Twitter than either of us, or I guess more appropriately, Sonichu is more active on Twitter than either of us, so.
Yeah, well, I'm as active as I want to be.
I want to be more active just because I know that'll get more eyes on my art, but I've been pretty lousy about producing art lately.
I can't stand Twitter, but yeah, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, I don't really like the feed. Like it's just kind of difficult to navigate. Like Instagram, I can sort of see the inherent logic of, but Twitter, I've never been able to make sense of.
It's just like people's just random ass thoughts. Like, why do I don't give a shit about it? Or like, or just why do I mean, like, kind of like, we do our thing and we say our stuff and it's all great, right?
Mm-hmm.
But just whenever we feel like talking about something, like, who really gives a shit about whatever just random thing we talk about? Like, man, I can't stand being in the grocery store. Like, I'm like, I don't give a shit about that. Do your moms think we're funny and shut the fuck up. I mean, that's. I can't. Anyway.
What gets me is the stuff that like Ranker and shit like that always is like, these are the most viral tweets this week. 30 viral tweets that made us laugh. And it's like, it's shit that it's like, how the fuck did this get viral?
Yeah,
where it's like, yeah, men are like this, and it's just like some generic ass statement about men. It's like, okay.
Right. So it's like BuzzFeed. All they are now is like, here's 20 of the things from the internet that'll make you laugh. And I'm like, I doubt that seriously. Plus, who the fuck so listens like reads BuzzFeed? I'm like, what?
Right. They try so hard to sort that shit by category too, where it's like 20 wholesome memes that made us smile this Wednesday.
I don't understand how you can be BuzzFeed. You can be, we're going to do like 20 bullshit, whatever they are, clickbaity things. And then also, oh, by the way, here's some breaking news about something that's really important. Be like, wait, what? No, you can't be both. You can't be this clickbaity, like random shit from the internet that we just picked up. And then also be like, oh, we want to bring you hard hitting news. that would be like my I don't know, like, I'm just going to say CNN, but CNN Anchorman being a clown.
Right.
You know, or in this case, being like Shaggy Two-Dope from the Insane Clown Posse. But the whole time, he's seriously delivering you the news.
I'd watch it.
I mean, I'm like, yeah, but it's like any minute now, you know, is like you're expecting him to do something and then like when it's like this just in, like the little hatchet man comes like running across the screen. It's like, oh, this just in, you know.
I would legit watch the shit out of some ICP news. It's the ICP News Network. Film at 11. Fucking magnets. How do they work?
Yeah, it's like Reddit's putting stock in chicken heads. You should know why. So
you were mentioning that you had some stuff about Endgame you wanted to bring up, or?
Oh yeah. So, you know, just as I'm you know, off to do, just kind of, you know, like going through like TV, trying to find something to watch. It's one of those weird things where it's one of the things I hate about streaming services. Is because I've always enjoyed just kind of like just channel surfing, and just like something catches my eye, and I'll kind of start looking at a little bit of it. It's like, this is something I want to watch further, and you'd be surprised how many good movies I've found that way. Just like they're in there, maybe 15 minutes in, maybe 30 minutes in, and I'll just kind of pick it up and just be like, okay, this is interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, like, wow, all right, you know, I'm not gonna watch any more, but I'm gonna, you know, watch it from the beginning, or maybe I'll watch all the way through, and then next time it's on, I'll watch it from the beginning and pick the whole thing up. Found a lot of good movies that way. But with streaming services, you have to know what you're going after.
Right.
And sometimes I don't want to invest in the first 15 to 20 minutes of a movie only to find out that this is shit, you know? And it's like, I'm either going to watch a particular thing or whatever. So it's one thing I hate about streaming services is that, and I like just kind of like randomly picking up a movie. Like I know, let's say like a movie I've seen tons of, like Usual Suspects.
Right.
Usual Suspects is a movie that it could be edited for freaking Nickelodeon, and I will watch it because I love that movie so much. I mean, I've watched it, you know, unedited. I've watched it edited, and it was like, oh, the Usual Suspects on. Oh, it's edited for TV, like, you know, like network TV, right. You know.
Oh, now I'm just trying to picture what a Nickelodeon edit would look like of the Usual Suspects.
Who's
Kobayashi Drake?
and I'll watch it because I just think the movie is that great. You know, Christopher McQuarrie is brilliant.
Oh, it's a fantastic movie.
So, but then you can't do that. I can't do that with streaming service. I can't just start watching Usual Suspects at like the 20-minute mark unless I'm going to fast forward all the way through it. So anyway, I you know, randomly like just kind of. I don't really feel like investing myself in anything big, or I just want to watch a little bit of something. So, of course, you know, I end up finding myself either within the TNT, TBS, like, end of the spectrum, and I'm watching, like, either something Marvel or something DC, you know. They're so far past the Beastmaster mode now that That's what it is. So, Endgame's been coming on a lot lately, and, of course, I find myself watching Endgame. Just because it's a good movie, and it's weird for a movie to be that damn long, and for the first like hour and a half of it just to be, and I don't want to say it's nothing, but it's just like story building. You know, it's just it's an hour and a half of story building and just these characters and what's going on. So so like I say, end up watching it and stuff like that. And there was a couple things I picked up on that that I found really kind of interesting, and that's one of the things that we did a whole thing about Marvel movies and stuff like that.
Right.
So, but it still persists even as we move along to this phase where it's like it's still building on something that I find fascinating. If you for any of you that have Disney Plus, and they've got a lot of the like little things out there like deleted scenes or alternate versions of scenes out there for stuff, and you can kind of see like, apparently originally in Endgame there was going to be a point where the heroes were all going to, like, during the battle they were all going to kind of meet up at this trench and like okay, we've got to form a battle plan here. And there's this whole scene, they're like, yeah, but that didn't make any sense to us. It didn't flow organically. Like, how would, like, so there's other people still fighting, but they all kind of get together here. And it's like, okay, let's take a time out here. Right. And like, there's like, and then there's alternate versions of like Hulk meeting the Ancient One, how that originally went down, little stuff like that. And they kind of talk through like, we originally had it this way, but then the story changed and we were like, that doesn't work for this part of the story. So it was kind of like really cool. Anyway, so again, like I said, just this, the whole building of that, and with the whole rest of the universe and stuff. So, like I said, just two things that I picked up on that I thought was really kind of cool. I'm not even sure which one. And some of you people are like, well, yeah, we knew that. But I thought it was neat. And I'm not even sure which one I want to go with first because I think it's kind of cool. I'll go with this one. So, when they're fighting Thanos at the end,
right?
And Thanos, and I think it's interesting because Thanos grabs Stormbreaker.
Yeah.
And he just picks it up, and he's going to use that axe, the axe end of it, to push it into Thor's chest, right? And Thor's trying to hold it back, and he's pushing it down, which is funny because that's exactly what Thor did to Thanos. Of course, he has no idea because it hasn't happened to him yet, or whatever. And then all of a sudden, Mjolnir gets picked up and thrown and like wallops him in the back of the head. And then it comes back and he grabs, and Cap grabs, you see Cap's got the shield and he's got Mjolnir, and it's that scene, and Thor's like, I knew it!
It's such a good scene.
Thanos turns, he grabs Thor and like slings his ass somewhere, and he turns and he starts going towards Cap. He's completely unimpressed. Because he has no idea about the enchantment on Mjolnir and that Cap should not be able to pick it up.
Yeah.
Which I think is so awesome. He's like, okay, so it's just like if you picked up somebody's gun. And just, he's like, okay, so you grabbed his hammer, big fucking deal. It's like,
right, we're going to do this, okay.
Right, and like, the Thanos is like, oh, yeah, okay. But it's like, no, you don't understand. He's not just anybody can pick it up, like, But for him, he has no idea, so he's just like, uh-huh. And I love that. When I looked, I was like, oh, yeah. He's completely unimpressed because he's like, he doesn't know. And I'm like, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And, you would just think that you have to remember, like, when you're doing this kind of thing, it's like, yeah, he doesn't know. He's like, whatever. And that's kind of cool. And, and I could go on with, Thanos has, he has a lot of echoes of Ultron in how he looks at things. Not quite. Ultron still has way more humanity than Thanos does. Because in Infinity War, you can kind of see Thanos' whole idea of like, yeah, okay, you're saving the galaxy, you're saving people, and when he talks to Gamora, he's like, have you been to your planet? Like, these people have not gone hungry. They don't know what any of this stuff is like. It's been beautiful for them because I did that. But then when you get to like Endgame, is like, yeah. So you guys are showing me that if I'm gonna save humanity, I really need to remake it from scratch. And it's like, that's when you get into, like the wrong end of it's like, no, that's when you start fucking shit up,
Right.
That's when you become like, like a dictator of the universe. And then you're like, yeah, now I'm no longer on board with your plan there. So, and then of course, when he kind of starts losing and he's like, just rain fire. And he goes, but sir, our people is like, he's like, motherfucker, I said rain fire. He's like, did you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Stutter?
Right. But again, he's like, yeah, but, when I win, I'll remake them all, And plus his whatever those creatures are, those things are mindless anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, it's like, at that point, like, the ends justify the means. But of course, when you got the Infinity Gauntlet, it's like, I'll make it however I need to.
Yeah, reality can
be
be whatever he wants it to be.
It's like, remember when you were losing it and you rained fire down on everybody? Well, no, I don't remember that at all. Yeah, me neither. What was I talking about? But anyway, I'd say I thought that was kind of cool. That's like making sure, just that these people are treated in the silos that they're supposed to be in.
Yeah, yeah.
The other thing I thought was really, really cool, and again, I'm sure people are like, oh, okay, we already knew this. Like, why are you so late to the party? So let's go back to Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
Civil War, you've got the big fight at the airport. My man, Clint Barton, aka Hawkeye, he's dancing with Black Panther. He takes his bow after he shoots a couple of times, and then he snaps into like a staff, and the string goes in.
Yeah. And
he throws it. He's like, we haven't met. He goes, my name's Clint, and Black Panther's like, I don't care. Yeah. Right? God, and then they fight. It's beautiful. So I love that. So now let's jump ahead to Endgame. So, they're in the compound. Thanos just blows the shit out of the compound, right? And, Thor, Cap, and Iron Man make their way out. Unfortunately, Hulk, Rocket, and Iron Patriot, a War Machine.
Right.
That's a much cooler name. No, it's not. So they're all trapped below, and Ant-Man's going to rescue them. And then Hawkeye is in a different part of it. He's like in like the access tunnels or whatever. Mm-hmm. And the creatures are chasing him. He's got the gauntlet. He runs. Then he runs into Evil Nebula.
Yep.
And then Good Nebula, or present day Good Nebula, and Old Gamora show up. And he's like, oh, okay, well, you guys take that. I'm going to take the gauntlet. And he goes running off again. Yeah. And, shit's going down. So he's running with the gauntlet. And then, of course, there's the big battle. And Black Panther shows up. And he's like, Clint, give it to me.
Yep.
Black Panther dies at the end of Infinity War. So Civil War, Hawkeye, Clint goes to prison. He goes to the raft. Mm-hmm. He somehow cuts a deal in between there and Endgame,
right,
to where he gets to go home with his family, just like Ant-Man cut a deal, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of Civil War, sometime between Civil War and Endgame, he cuts his deal and he's at home. He's not seen Black Panther or anything else. Then, of course, you've got Infinity War, which, of course, he has absolutely no knowledge of. So that's why when his family disappears, he's like, hey, what the fuck?
Right,
where my family go, in the middle of nowhere. Black Panther dies because he, gets snuffed away with the snap.
Right.
So he doesn't show back up then until, everybody shows up at the end of Endgame. He has not seen Hawkeye since then.
Yep.
And when he shows up, he says, Clint, give it to me. He's like, and I'm like, that's so badass.
Yeah.
Because he was like, hey, my name's Clint. He's like, I don't care, but obviously he did care.
Yeah.
And I love that. It's like, you think it's a small moment there, but you realize that, it's like he, Black Panther took note of that, this guy's name is Clint. It's all well and good. And then, when they see again, he's just like, give it to me.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if Hawkeye even was like even aware, because again, this is his second time seeing him.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's always those little throwaway lines that really make you see just how brilliant the writing is with the Marvel films. Because like one thing that always stood out with me, as they're gearing up to fight Thanos, is that he makes some statement about how it's so foolish to be overconfident, but as he says it, he takes off his helmet.
Yeah.
Which is like, why the fuck are you going to take off your helmet for a fight? Because you're overconfident. So what's great about that is that even when he decides to rain fire down on everything, remember when he's looking at the the images that are coming from Nebula's head. Yeah.
And he's like, I'm going to win.
Yeah.
And even there at that moment, he's like, I've already read, because he tells you, like, despite everything and all the stuff that happened, he's like, is like, like, I'm inevitable. And what happened? It brought you back to me.
Yep.
So he's like, even if I lose this battle, I've still already won. The only reason we're fighting this battle is because I won.
Yep. Yep.
So, and of course, they bring everything back and all that kind of stuff. But he's like, but still, I won. And the reason he's even fighting that battle isn't even really to win, because again, he's already won.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Very. Very.
So it's like, so he's fighting a battle just almost for the sake of fighting it, or maybe because not even to ensure his victory, because nothing that the Avengers can do will change that.
Yeah.
It's already happened. He's like, it's almost like, it's like, well, I see now that I made some mistakes the first time, and I want to correct those now. But even still, it's it's like, yeah, I've done this.
Yeah, it's like you can't change the past.
Right. So that's so he is kind of overconfident, a little cocky, but it's I'm not gonna say it's deserved, but he's like, it's kind of deserved.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you really can't blame it. Yeah, and I think we've talked about this on other. This might have actually been this might have been a while ago that we talked about this, but like one of my favorite tie-ins with it is like in the first Avengers movie when Stark and Rogers are arguing, and Steve tells Tony, "You were never one to make a sacrifice play," and Tony tells Steve, "Everything special about you came out of a bottle."
Right.
And so all these years later, when we get to Endgame, Tony makes a sacrifice play, and Steve proves that he's worthy to lift Mjolnir. And it's like, it's so cool that they harken back to that.
It is nice.
So that's, I think, probably like my favorite thing out of the entire MCU is the fact that they did that.
I was thinking, because I've seen Chris Evans in a lot of stuff, and if you look at him as Captain America, you see him as Captain America, but what I would challenge people to do is go back and watch them and look at him when he's Steve Rogers. Mm-hmm. And as Chris Evans as an actor, the way he stands, he always stands shoulders back, and he stands in this, it's not even like a confidence, it's this unmoving pillar of just like, it's not even righteousness, of just
strength.
Like, yeah. And when you see him, it's like, he's not like, I can watch Knives Out. I can watch like the Fantastic Four movies. I can watch, what was that movie? Well, I don't really want to go back that far to that stupid comedy. But I mean, you can see him there, and there's a big difference between the way he acts there and the way he stands when he's Steve Rogers, mm-hmm. and the way he commands a presence, and the way that it's like everything he does is like, it's like when he makes a decision, it's something that's well thought out, and he's standing behind every word he says. Mm-hmm. And you never see him slouch. You always see him just standing straight like a pillar, and he just commands that room.
Yep.
And you really see that in Ultron in that one scene where, after Ultron first manifests and they were all talking about it, about Ultron, and what happened. And it's so, I always think about like when you're, for him, in a room with all those other actors there, yep. and you've got to convey that, and you're, for him, probably out of everybody there, he's probably the one that has been in like maybe the least amount of movies, or has been acting the old, well, unless you want to count Mystery Date board game, but he's the one that has been acting maybe the shortest amount of time, but yet he's got to stand there and command all their attention. I find that very impressive. I think he does a fantastic job with that.
Yeah, he was born for the role.
Yeah,
like completely, just absolutely born for the role.
But you say, you go back and you look and you see, like, you go back to one movie and you go back to another and you look at how everything is kind of like how it all like connects and plays together, how everyone plays their role so well. And it's not even just like the character, like the way the actors do it too. It's also so much of the writing that really works so well. Even with like, I'm a big Hulk fan, so Mark Ruffalo and his banner and stuff like that, and it's everybody really embodies their characters so well that there's a really nice scene that I like in Endgame when War Machine and Nebula go off to get their gem.
Yeah.
And she just, he's telling her like, whoa, there's booby traps and stuff like that in here. And she reaches right through the force field thing, and she grabs it and she pulls it out, and she looks at him and she's like, I wasn't always like this. And he's like, neither was I,
Yeah.
And he's like, but you work with what you get, it's like,
right.
I love that scene. And I'm sure that, they purposely put them together, for that scene or whatever, or maybe not, maybe it's just one of those organic things that happen, as writing, but it's so nice seeing two of them. He's like, yeah, we're both, kind of, what we are, and this is it's the hand we've been dealt, and you just keep moving with it.
Yeah, which I mean that's kind of the philosophy of like most of the Marvel stuff is that like you work with the hand that life deals you.
Yeah. So anyway, but like I said, those two things kind of stood out to me. In watching it, and I was just and I was like, wow, it's like that's so. That's so cool. It's just, I love you say when they kind of go back to different things.
Yeah.
And you see it all. I still think Stark's wrong in Infinity War when he's getting all pissy at Cap. I'm sorry, in Endgame when he's getting all pissy at him and like, you said we would do it together and blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, but you mean. Yeah, I get it. You were trapped out there in space and blah, blah, blah. But we were fighting a battle down here, too. We were both fighting the same battle on different fronts. And the thing is, no matter what, we were going to lose. Where we were all together in one place or not, we were going to lose. Yeah.
That was just Tony being Tony.
Yeah.
So
I will say the last thing I'm going to say about this is my one of my favorite scenes in Endgame is when Spider-Man has the gauntlet and he's running around and he quickly gets overwhelmed and he's like, activate instant kill. Yeah. I love because in Homecoming he's like, why instant kill? Why would you even have that? And when he gets overwhelmed by these creatures and stuff, and he's like, he doesn't even hesitate. He's just like, activate instant kill.
Yeah, so good, so good. Have you seen the meme about Endgame? That's like, it's just a picture of Scarlett Johansson, but it's like Black Widow allowed herself to be thrown to her death off the top of a cliff just so she wouldn't have to be part of the girl power scene.
Oh man, and we've talked. I think did we talk about this on mic, or did we just talk about it off mic?
The girl power scene? Or?
Yeah.
I think we talked about it during Let's Watch.
Okay. Yeah, because, I mean, I don't have a problem with it per se. It's just, it just seemed forced, because you got a big, huge battle scene there. And it's kind of like a trench scene. Like, how would all these people come together for this trench scene?
Right,
You take that out, but you leave this in, and then you've got, again, people that don't even know each other.
Yeah.
And it's like, why would you automatically assume like that they would all just happen to be not busy at this one moment to come together for this, and you don't even know like nobody fucking knows Valkyrie,
right?
It's like none of them know
nobody
her.
knows her. Nobody gives a shit about who she is. It's a fight,
right? I mean,
for me, it's.
But you had a bunch of female sorcerers,
right?
from Kamartaj, and none of them would happen to show up there.
Yeah, for me, it's the whole show don't tell thing, where it's like you took all that screen time, you could have actually shown those female characters doing cool shit by fighting, instead of like, oh, we have to all strike a cool pose for the camera here. It's like, no, you could have taken that 30 seconds and actually had them do shit.
Right.
And people would have been thinking, wow, those female characters are really cool.
And it's also the fact that they all just all came together.
Yeah.
Just like one. I'm like,
just randomly. Yeah. So that's like the only moment out of the movie that I don't like. So, which is why I thought that meme was so good.
That is funny though. You actually just made me think of another scene. Damn it! Now it's gone.
Derailed everything again.
Did. Curses.
Acomi's batting 1,000.
Oh shit. Well, I'm trying to think now if it was. I do like the part when Scarlet Witch is fighting Thanos, and she's like,
yeah.
"You took everything from me." It's like, I don't even know you.
Yeah, I don't even know who you are.
I love that because it's so funny. I mean, it's not funny, but he's like, it's just like him like having the hammer is like, what?
Yeah, it's like they're all facing him in their context, and as far as he's concerned, he's never seen any of these fuckers before in his life. I don't even know who you are.
I think that's funny.
It is good. It is. And didn't the directors confirm that if Scarlet Witch hadn't been interrupted at that moment, she would have been able to kill Thanos?
I don't know. I don't remember seeing that.
I think I read that in an interview or something, because she's like stupid strong. So,
oh yeah, she is.
So there was something like that in there.
I mean, she was kicking his ass. She was doing a damn good job.
Yeah, because she was about to pull him apart.
Oh man,
I like her. I need to watch WandaVision. I've been hearing nothing but good things about it.
I haven't watched it yet. I'm waiting till get another episode or two in. Mm-hmm. That way I can do just like The Mandalorian and just binge it over like 2-3 days.
Yeah,
and just be done.
I gotta marathon The Mandalorian too.
Yeah. So, but there was another scene that I wanted to bring up that was I don't want to say it was cool. It was really kind of interesting how it worked out. But next, now it's gone. I don't even remember which movie it may have been from. But because when you mentioned the whole thing about this is about Black Widow, yeah, whole thing it triggered in my head, and now it's gone, all gone.
Well, we are an hour into this episode.
Are we really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Time flies when you run your mouth about bullshit.
That's our moms think we're phony for you.
Yeah. So, well, how do we go from GameStop stock to like in-game with a little bit of peppering in there of on a random other stuff and who knows what. Wow.
And Resident Evil.
Yeah.
That's our non-topic episodes for you. That's what I like about these episodes where we don't really have a solid plan. We just kind of cover everything.
Yeah, well, sometimes we have like little things like the Avengers thing, and I wanted to just kind of talk about it, but I didn't really have didn't have a place to do it. And it's like, what am I gonna do? Like, wait until I get a whole bunch to talk about,
Right. We'll add this to the Avengers file for later.
Yeah, I'm sure people are sick of us like talking about that to death and everything. So, but yeah, so I was like I said, I saw that and I was like, that's pretty neat.
Yeah, I like it.
So, yeah.
And yeah. So, I have been Acomi.
And my name is Turk182.
Yeah, you should check out our other podcasts.
Yeah, we got a lot of good stuff that we talk about. Got a lot of funny stuff that we talk about. Different things that we talk about and different things that we do. But yeah, this is our Mom's Think We're Funny. And, the whole purpose of this is to do a little bit of informing you, do a little bit of talking, do a little bit of laughing, and,
And if you don't like it, you can listen to another podcast.
I'm sorry, when I do this, it always makes me think of that scene from the movie Sergeant Bilko. It's a remake of the TV series, has Steve Martin in it. Not a great movie, has some funny moments in it.
Right.
But for me, the funniest moment in the entire movie is, because Sergeant Bilko is, he's slack, and he lets his platoon just kind of get away with stuff. Plus, he's basically trying to like get everything he can from the government. So he will con some people out of this and con some people out of that and do this, and so there's a hard ass he's not I think he's a captain is coming there, and he's going to be inspecting their barracks, and they're and of course their barracks are all torn up. So they go and they switch the signs of the barracks with another one, and then they all run over there. But the guy, like, they've got this, like, last minute, they got to get this thing done,
Right.
And then they all go and they stand outside their rooms. And so as it's going through, of course, they were all standing outside the wrong rooms. So they don't know anything about these barracks. And the one guy is in, like, this woman's room, and as the guy's going through, he, like, pulls out I think it's like a bra, and the guy's sitting there, and he's like looking at it, and the guy goes, "It's my understanding, sir, you cannot ask me these kind of questions." And so the other guy he's a white guy. He's like in this black guy's like room quarters, and the guy's looking at this, like, family photo of this black people, this white guy, and he's like, "Who is this?" He goes, "That is the cast of my favorite TV show, The African American Hour." He goes, "It's funny, but it also makes you think." So when I'm doing a sign off, that's what I'm like when we're like, "Yeah, we make you laugh and everything," and that's what makes me think. It was like, we're funny, but we also make you think.
Yeah, we want to challenge you to be better people.
Not better than us.
Well, that's impossible.
Yeah, we don't want you getting all highfalutin there.
Just know you'll only ever be a close second to us. But you matter, so.
That's right. You'll never be Billy the Kid. You only be the man that shot Billy the Kid.
Anyway, bye, everybody.
Zang, yo.
All right there, folks. That was Our Moms Think We're Funny. Let's give them a hand.